Bhagirata asked, since this ego sense is firmly established in this body, how can it be uprooted? The ego sense is what leads us to identify with notions about ourselves as father, spouse, mother, as business person, teacher, guru, whatever. Tritala replied, by self-effort and by resolutely turning away from the pursuit of pleasure, and by the resolute breaking down of the prison house of shame, which is described here as false dignity, etc. If you abandon all this and remain firm, the ego sense will vanish and you will realize that you are the Supreme Being. What does it mean by the pursuit of pleasure here? Is it going down to the pub every night? Or looking for sex all the time? It's actually a lot subtler than that. I think a better understanding of this pursuit of pleasure is the pursuit of comfort. We look for comfort all the time. We always want to move away from discomfort to comfort. We want to make things cozy. Much of the development of society has been in this direction. We've got running water, electricity, we've got heating, we've got soft beds, we've got nice houses. This is how it goes, and it's an ongoing thing. We want to make ourselves comfortable. A side effect of this is that we get very, very flabby, which is why some people feel they've got to go out and do adventure sports or something like that, which takes them out of the comfort zone. So we've got this dynamic with the comfort zone. And it's not that we need to give up all our comforts or that we need to go and do adventure sports. It's actually moving away from that whole dynamic, this tendency towards comfort or discomfort. It definitely seems to be a dynamic which most of us are engaged in. So I would understand the pursuit of pleasure here as a pursuit of comfort. And the point is that you're not actually pursuing discomfort either. So we must be careful about that understanding. The resolute breaking down of the prison house of shame, false dignity, etc. This is to do with our self-image. It's to do with hypocrisy as well. We've all got this image that we adhere to, this self-image, but it's usually got very little to do with how we actually are. Human societies are based on hypocrisy, whether it's a hypocrisy of communism or democracy, or of traditional societies, societies based on religious understanding. They are rife with the most appalling hypocrisy. I suspect it's unavoidable. I think society has to be based on hypocrisy to some extent. In fact, some societies even seem to think of that as a virtue. But on a spiritual level, we can't have anything to do with it. This is the prison house of false dignity. We like to have an image of ourselves that we feel comfortable with. We need to abandon that. So we abandon the comfort dynamic. We abandon self-image. We don't replace self-image by a non-caring self-image either. We need to be careful about that. We don't start doing ourselves down. Again, that's just falling into the similar trap. So these are two very fundamental things. The pursuit of comfort is automatic. We don't question it. That's on a deep emotive level. Self-image is more abstract, more psychological. And to abandon both these is to take away two of the motivations for how we live our lives. So we're being told to abandon them, but to remain firm. In other words, don't panic. You've taken away the supports of your whole everyday existence. It says here, If you abandon all this and remain firm, the ego sense will vanish and you will realize that you are the Supreme Being. But the point is, if you abandon the supports of the ego, where else have you got to turn to? It's like you're walking on a tightrope. You're doing your best to navigate across. This is your way through life. And now the advice is to cut the tightrope. Don't worry about wobbling. Don't worry about falling. This is what we're being asked to do. It's like we've been asked to jump out of an aeroplane without a parachute. But we do have this safety net. We have the safety net of the true nature of our identity, which is the Supreme Being. This is what we can turn to. We need to turn to something. The attention doesn't exist in a vacuum. It has to turn to something. It's usually turned to the pursuit of comfort, or it's turned to something which will enhance our self-image. But we drop that, where else can it turn? Where can it go? It can only resort to itself. It can only turn back on itself. And when it turns back on itself, this is Supreme Being.